My name is Jared James. If you aren't familiar with me, I'm best known as an entrepreneur that gets the unique opportunity to coach and train agents and brokers in the real estate world and speak at conferences in front of thousands of people. But it wasn't always that way for me. What separates me from so many others is that I've actually done everything that I want you to be able to do. For that reason, this is the place to come if you want to learn the strategies needed to succeed in today's marketplace. This is the Jared James Today Show. Hey guys, Jared James here, and welcome to episode 5 of the Jared James Today Show, which is so cool, guys. The feedback so far has been amazing. The comments, the likes, through Snapchat and here on YouTube and email and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all these different places. It's cool to see you doing that, and I think today you're really going to like our topic as well, okay? Right off the bat, though, what I want you to do is, if you like this video, like it. If you don't, obviously don't. Leave a comment below and make sure you subscribe to this channel, because if you check it out, we have a ton of content coming out that's 100% free and just for you, okay? Now, today's topic is something that, again, a lot of you have been wanting. It's all about teams, which if you're in the real estate industry, let's face it, that is a huge thing right now. I mean, that's whether you're in a team, not in a team, you've probably been thinking about a team, you see teams all around you, and there's a lot of misnomers, but whether you have a team right now or you don't, this video is for you. We're going to talk about the who, what, when, where, why, all those things to do with building a team, and even if you have a team already and you're kind of like, okay, I need to change some things, or this isn't running right, or whatever it may be, this is going to help you, okay? The first thing I want you to understand, though, is that not all teams look alike. You know, when we coach people, one of the first things we ask them is, what do you want? Because some people want 50-person teams. Some people want to be individuals. Some people just want them and an admin. Some people want them, an admin, 2 buyer's agents, and that's it. Everybody wants something different, and the first thing you want to do is you want to decide what you want, okay? Now, if it does come down to a team, and by the way, I think everybody should be in a team of some sort, even if that's just you and admin, you and 2 admins, you an admin and a buyer. Like, on some level, there's only so much you can do, and you know that. And the reason why a lot of people stray away and they say, I don't want a team, is because they don't want to be responsible for other people. And the issue with that is you have to make a decision right now, like as you're watching this right now. Which one do you want less? Do you want less to be responsible for other people, or do you want less to work your whole career and not have a saleable asset, okay? Because when everything's built around you, that's exactly what's going to happen, okay? So, if you decide that a team is the way to go for you, I also want you to understand that no organization, no team can have 2 heads, okay? What I see all the time when I'm talking to people, when we're coaching people, when we're dealing with people, is they want to have some kind of a partnership, okay? And it's different when it's a husband-wife type of thing, and that's a whole different dynamic we can talk about at another time. Although, by the way, if you do have that dynamic going on, make sure you're doing completely different things. Make sure you're actually setting out who does what. One does marketing, one goes out and shakes hands and kisses babies. But overall, when you're talking about just you and another person, you don't want to have 2 people that have 50% ownership, because I'm just telling you, it is a recipe for lack of success, really. You cannot have 2 heads. Everybody has 1 head. That's the way it's supposed to be. Now, that doesn't mean you become some kind of terrible person and you're just making everybody do things they don't want to do, but ultimately, when there's disagreement, what happens? You have to think like that, okay? So let's start off right away and let's go through why should you start a team, okay? If you have higher aspirations and you want to truly run a company, not just run around like crazy, but actually run a company, then a team may be for you. If you want to make more money and stop being a hamster on a wheel, and again, a lot of you watching right now know exactly what I'm talking about. That hamster on the wheel feeling where you're just constantly going, and you're not getting a huge result. You're just kind of going, and you want to actually start running an organization and having systems and processes and having a predictable lead and all of that kind of stuff, a team may be for you. If you want to create, and I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you want to create a saleable asset, and if you want to develop an exit strategy, then you may want to start thinking about whether a team is for you, because these are real questions you have to ask. And the thing is whether you think about these or not, or whether you ask these questions or not, they're going to get answered, right? So whether you ask the question, do I want to have an exit plan or not, it's going to be answered. You're going to exit at some point. You're either going to leave the business and you're going to have someone that can take it over, or you're going to have some kind of structure where someone else actually moves into that company and takes over. You're going to sell the business, or you're going to spend years and years building something and have nothing to show for it. And I would hope that that wouldn't be any of you watching right now, okay? So let's talk about the next part. How do you know when it's time to formulate a team, okay? If you're at a place where your income is plateaued, this is a lot of the students we work with where, year after year after year after year, no matter how hard they work, you just hit a certain plateau. And when you really think about it, it makes sense, because no matter who you are, the one asset, the one resource that all of us have the exact same amount of time of is time. I mean, it's really time. And so it makes sense that once you hit a certain potential level, it's just kind of, okay, it plateaus, you can't go any further. If you're in a place right now where you have more business than you can handle, you may want to start thinking about a team. If you're at a place right now where you're afraid to go on vacation, which I know is a huge percentage of the people who are watching me right now, you're afraid to go on vacation. Because what's the old line? If you want to create business in real estate, just book a vacation. It's so true. Because you know that everything relies on you and everything comes down to you. And when you're away on vacation, you're scared because you got all this stuff up in the air that's worth tens of thousands of dollars. And so you're never really able to relax, okay? So if you're thinking like that, this may be for you. If you're just plain too busy, I say all the time, there is a huge difference between busyness, B-U-S-Y, and business, B-U-S-I. And a lot of us have become absolute masters at creating busyness. If you're at that place where you have sold your time, you've made that exchange, and yet your income is plateaued, you want to have more predictable structure and infrastructure, that kind of stuff, you may want to start looking at a team. So, how does that happen? What does that look like? That's what I want to help you with today. So where should you start? I'm going to cover a few different steps with you right now. The first step to me is pretty logical, and that is you really should start by getting a coach, okay? Whether that's our company, whether that's another company, whatever it may be, there's something about having somebody on the outside who knows what they're doing, who can see it from a different perspective, hold you accountable, keep you from making the missteps, and doing all those things, especially when you think that it's like one transaction a year for that person to do that in that exponential growth process. You need to start looking at the possibility of bringing somebody in who's going to help you get to where you want to go. Most of the very top teams that are out there, obviously all the ones we coach have a coach. There's a reason why. Okay, so where you want to start? Get a coach. The next thing you want to do, you want to hire a good, and this is a key point, hire a good licensed admin or licensed assistant. So this is a thing that a lot of people go back and forth on in our industry. Do you need a licensed assistant? Do you not need a licensed assistant? Obviously you can do this without, especially when you start, a licensed assistant, but there are so many advantages to having a licensed assistant because of the things that they're able to do. And I don't want to go state by state on what's allowed and what's not allowed, but they're allowed to do a lot more things as it pertains to that property and details they're allowed to give, and last minute going and picking up a showing that you can't do, and all of that kind of stuff. That is just a huge benefit. So if you have one who doesn't have a license, I would make it your goal to get them a license. And if you're hiring somebody, that would be something that for me would be a prerequisite, okay? Now, when you're looking at hiring this assistant, you want to use the DISC profiles, D-I-S-C. You can look those up online. This right here is not some kind of a training on what those DISC profile mean. But here's what I tell you, when you hire somebody, especially an assistant, I want you to remember this point. People are not who we want them to be. They are who they are. Now, I'm going to say that again because it's very important that all of you get what I just said. Because this is something we fall into over and over again, not just when hiring assistants, but when getting into relationships, having friends, people are not who we want them to be. They are who they are. Okay? Very important point. And DISC profiles are a way that you can tell who somebody is. And they're very rarely wrong. We do it with all our coaches, with all of our students, with anybody. I mean, it's so important. Now, again, this is not a DISC profile training course, but generally speaking, that admin person that you have, you do not want them to be a high D. Okay? You're a high D. You don't want them to be a high D, very dominant, Now, there comes a time within your business with various salespeople and such, that you're going to want high Ds on your team. But even when you have those high Ds, they can ruin a team if you don't know how to manage them. Every high D needs to know who the alpha is, and it better be you. Otherwise, that person will ruin that team if they don't know who that is. But when you're hiring your assistant, you want to get a good DISC profile, find out who they are. You want somebody who gets annoyed by your lack of organization, by your lack of just overall, control or whatever. You want someone who's annoyed by that, who's just all about the systems, all about this is how this is done. You want someone, in essence, what I'm saying right now, you want someone who's not you. Really that simple, okay? Third thing we're going to do when we start. This is when, now that you have your assistant, now you've got your coach in place, you're actually going to start putting into place your systems, your processes, your infrastructure. This is where you're going to build the foundation of your business. Now think of it this way. When you build a house, the most important part of that house, and yet the most unsexy part, the part that takes the longest, the part is the foundation of that house. In fact, in most cases, it's actually a part that's covered up by siding. You don't even see it. You would not even think it was a big deal. And yet it's the thing that holds that house up for the next 100 years. People get into real estate, and I said this on a previous Jared James Today show, where I said we go through hours and hours of classes that teach us how to pass a test, but never how to actually run a business. And we get in, and we become that hamster on a wheel. I need to create transactions. I need to create deals. I need to create, and we start acting like that, and we never take the time to do the unsexy work of building the foundation of your real estate business that's going to hold you up for the next 20 years, the next 30 years, the next 10 years. Just fill in the blank how much longer you're going to be in this business. We never take the time to do that. And that's the power that systems and processes and infrastructure and all these kinds of things have when you take the time to do them. We tell all of our coaching students, good coaching is about making you do the unsexy things that you don't want to do. That's what your infrastructure, your systems, your processes are. And even more so, I want you to think of it like this. From a long-term perspective, one of the reasons that people don't like to run teams is that when they start getting buyer agents and other people, they become a complete hassle. They're annoyed by them. It becomes like babysitting 101, and you all know what I'm talking about when I say this. But I want you to remember this point, and this is kind of a crazy point, but you'll remember it, and that's why I use crazy points, because you'll remember it. 9s don't date 5s. Okay. If you don't know what that means, then ignore that I just said that, okay? But for those of you that know what I'm talking about now, 9s don't date 5s. And so I would put at your feet the idea that if you've been in a position where you are attracting people to you that from a business perspective are unattractive, they are so much work, they complain about everything, they're gossipers, they're 5, 5, 5, if we round up to the nearest 5. What I'm telling you is maybe not you, but everybody else that's listening right now, just maybe you're attracting those people because that's what your business organization is right now. If you don't have the systems in place, if you don't have the processes, if you don't have the leads, if you don't have all of these other things that it takes to be a successful team, you are not going to draw other 9s and 10s. You're going to draw other 4s and 5s, and then you're going to complain about it. And so as I said to someone recently, tell me it's raining outside, but let me see you make it stop. Okay? You're just pointing out what the obvious is. But the nice thing in this example, we can make it stop. We can change our business structure. And that's where this comes in, creating the infrastructure that makes it attractive to other high quality people, because they know when they come in, the leads are there, the system's there, all the way through to the end, and admin handles everything. I mean, it makes it much more attractive, which brings me to my fourth point when you're getting started, which is that you've got to get your lead creation in place. Once you have your admin, and you and your admin now put your systems processes, and you have your coach who's helping that whole process, showing you what to do, screen sharing, whatever it happens to be, now you get into the point where you really want to go to the next level, and you want to start having an overabundance, an overflow of leads coming in. And I'm well aware that leads on their own are nothing but a waste of time if you don't know how to convert them. Again, that's why you have a coach. That's why you have videos like mine and others, but it's got to start with leads, because the more leads that you now have, the more attractive that you are to other people, other buyer's agents, other listing agents, other people around you, because you're able to give them something in this industry that so many of them are not used to, which is called predictability. It now takes you from being a 4 or a 5, and now you've got a coach, you've got an admin, you've got systems, processes, infrastructure, and now you have leads. By God, you're like an 8 to 10 now. Do you see how this is starting to work? Now, those leads can come from a lot of different places, and that's a story for another day. That's other shows that we've shot. But one of the main places right now that you don't want to ignore is the internet, because the internet is so predictable. The internet, 92 to 96% of people are starting online. This is where you want that process to start as far as your lead creation. And I know there's so many other ways, direct targeted marketing and prospect. I know there's so many other ways, but I'm just saying when it comes to a team concept, it's so easy to actually track what's happening when you're using the internet. And by the way, what's not really being talked about in all of this is having an amazing CRM on the back end so that you can keep track of everything that's happening and where everybody is in the process and who's following up and who's not following up and how many potential transactions do you have going and how many leads have come in every single day. You're keeping track of these kinds of things. You know exactly what your cost per lead is and cost per acquisition and cost per sale and you know what all of these things are because you're running your business like a business. And again, that's one of the things we do with coaching is actually getting you to start to structure your business like a business. And the fifth thing, when we say where to start, very simply, it's time to expand, okay? Now, when we say it's time to expand, you've got your coach, you got your admin, systems, processes, infrastructure, and you got your leads. So now you've got an abundance of these leads. You have the funnel for them to go into. You have a proven concept. You have an admin who's handling things, transaction coordinator going through, who's doing some marketing as well, because an admin's job is to make you more money than you actually spend on them. Go back and watch previous Jared James Today Show episode, I forget, but it was all about when and how to hire a real estate assistant. Now you get into the next part, which is what order should you be hiring people? This is an important one for you guys. The first hire that you should be making is with that admin. We already talked about that. That admin, transaction coordinator, in the beginning they're doing the transactions, they're doing your marketing, they're following your systems, they're making sure everything's in place. That's what they're doing, okay? The second hire, and in some cases it would be, call it the second, third, fourth, and maybe fifth hire, is going to be a good buyer's agent, okay? And a good buyer, and by the way, we're gonna talk about where you find them. A good buyer's agent is going to be the one who's actually going around showing properties, going to be following up on leads, going to be updating the back end of their CRM so that you know exactly where they are in the process. This is what they're doing. They're doing the running around that you are now trying to avoid, okay? The next hire, I'm going to call it the third hire, even though we said that the buyer's agent could be second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Let's just call it the third different hire, is going to be something that's very popular right now, and I see it sticking around, which is an ISA. Some people call it an internet sales associate. Some people call it an inside sales associate. But that's the next hire. When you have an overflow and abundance of leads, you have buyer agents working that, you're working your compensation structures correctly, which we'll get to in a minute, and now you have the money to invest in a good ISA. All that ISA is doing all day, every day, whether it's and everybody's business model is different, but whether that's a virtual ISA, many people now are getting in-house ISAs who are actually sitting around everybody, they're a part of the team. Their job is to do nothing more than follow up on those leads and then start to divvy them out and set appointments for the buyer agents, for the listing agents, when those people are actually ready to meet a person, go see properties, and go to that next step. That's an amazing place to be because what that means is that your sales associates, the buyer's agents, potential listing agents we'll get to in a second here, are not spending their time doing that. They're only spending their time focused on what we call your best uses of time, which are actual face-to-face meetings with your clients. This is where we're trying to get you. The next hire, we'll call it the fourth hire, is going to be a good marketing assistant, okay? Or a marketing specialist, really is what it should be called. A marketing specialist is now taking over for what your assistant was doing up until now, which was the marketing, okay? So now when you look at whether it's digital marketing or whatever it happens to be, the campaigns you follow of my stuff on a regular basis, the new listing prospecting, the buyer neighborhood letters, the pizza order, whatever it happens to be, that person's sole job now is to do marketing and create business for your team. Whether it's generating new business, whether it's using the cheese to catch the mice, leveraging your existing listings, whatever it happens to be, they take that over full time. And at this point, you've either got one admin, maybe possibly 2 or 3 admins. You're getting to the place where this is starting to happen, okay? Fifth hire It's going to be your listing specialist, okay? This is really when you're starting to begin the process of removing yourself. So up until this point, when you have your buyer's agents, you have a marketing specialist, you've got all these things, you were still doing listing presentations. But now you're getting to the point where you're going to hire a listing specialist who will now start to take over, and you will groom them to do it just as well as you, to actually be a listing specialist. So you have somebody handling your listings, somebody handling your buyers, somebody handling the transaction process, somebody handling the marketing, somebody handling the follow-up. Now don't get too far ahead and go, my God, this could just never happen for me. It's step by step by step by step. And if you're listening to this too and you're saying to yourself, but my people rely on me, my people want me. Yes, but also understand that there was a time when people wanted Henry Ford to give them a test drive. And at some point along the process, we stopped expecting that because we train people how to feel. We train people how to treat us. And the reason why they want you so badly right now is because that's what you've trained them to believe. They associate inside of them the idea that when they want something done right or they want someone to hustle or whatever, you're the one that does it. When the truth is there are plenty of other people that can do it, and if you explain it correctly, they can actually do it much better than you because that's their only focus. It's someone's sole job to simply call and get follow-up on showings on listings immediately, and they're not going to forget about that. And if someone calls and needs to see a property in the next hour, there's somebody whose job is just to go out there and show properties immediately, whereas you probably wouldn't be able to do that. And when you start to retrain people in this way, they're going to see that it was in their best interests, and they're going to see that it's actually not good to have you going out there and you doing, because you forget things, okay? And they're actually going to get to a point where they're going to want the other people more than they're going to want you. I remember our last event, someone walked up to me and they said, "Where's Rachel?" And I went, "I don't know." She said, "Oh, what do you need?" Whatever. And they started asking me and I went, "Yeah, I have no idea. Go find." Same kind of a thing. You start to train that to happen. It's the only way you're going to grow, okay? The last thing that we're looking at now is we're starting to separate. Now this is bigger picture now, guys, is that you're now pulling in an operations manager or a president. Okay? This is where you actually start to remove yourself from the company. Now, you can still be active on a regular basis. You're the figurehead, you're these things. But the only way you create a saleable asset is if it's not built just around you. And again, this is bigger picture, guys. This isn't from this month to next month. This is over the course of years what you're actually trying to do, and you're actually getting the area used to this. And when you do this, by the way, you're probably going to lose about 15 to 20% of your clients, but you're going to increase by 300, 500, 1,000%, and so it's so worth it. You can't allow those people to drag you down and keep you from reaching your full potential and running a predictable business that becomes a saleable asset because you don't want to make Susie Q upset. That's part of growing sometimes, okay? That's how it works. I'd be more upset by the fact that they'd prefer that you stay in a prison for the rest of your life than actually grow and expand and take advantage of your full potential when you kind of flip it around a little bit, okay? So, let's talk compensation. It's a question everybody's thinking about. You're all wondering, how do people get paid? Well, I want you to remember this. Keep your splits consistent, fair, simple, and profitable. Okay? So keep your splits consistent, fair, simple, and profitable. Keep them consistent because nobody wants to come in and find out for the exact amount of, money and work and whatever, or the exact amount of work that they're doing. Someone else brand new just got hired is getting paid the exact amount when they're doing less work or the same work or, whatever it happens to be. You want to keep them consistent so you don't have to worry about that. When people start, this is where they start at. When people go, keep them consistent. Keep them fair. You're not trying to rip people off. Fair means both ways. That's what a good deal is. It always cracks me up when people come and talk to me about this great deal that they made, where they went and bought something at a place and, basically they screwed the person and whatever. And I'm going like, well, what's that mean for that person? Like, that doesn't sound like a good deal. It wasn't good for them. Let's think from both perspectives. Keep it simple. People need to know how they're making more money, how they're getting paid. It shouldn't be that difficult. But most importantly is this last part, keep it profitable. Don't give away the farm, so to say, just because you've got someone producing and you don't want to lose them, or you think that they're a great ad, or you think they're whatever. Because when you stop becoming profitable with that person, you actually lose the ability to continue to market and continue to make yourself a 9 or a 10 based on what you're providing to the team, okay? You have to look at a model that is, number one, profitable. And when you're dealing with people, Just like we talk about in listing presentations where we focus on the process, not the price, you also want your people, your potential people, your current people to focus on your process and their income potential and not the split/salary, okay? It's a very important point. And so you might say to them, when they're looking at it and they're going, well, this team over here is offering me 60% and you're only offering me 50%. And when you look at your process, when you focus on your process and your income potential and what you're providing and how much you spend to do that and the systems in the back end and the admins that are in place and all of these other things, a great question to ask them is, would you rather make 50% of $250,000 or would you rather make 60 or 65% of $125,000? I mean, the answer is pretty simple, okay? Sometimes we get so stuck on what we want to focus on, which is percent, and not necessarily what the actual end-of-year income is going to look like, and that's a dangerous place to be. You also, when it comes to admins, do not want to have them on straight salary. If you are dealing with a transaction type of business, you want to leave some kind of incentive for them to be following up, for them to get those deals closed, for them to do a good job. And so you give some kind of a base, some kind of a salary. Every area, we've got people listening right now from all over the world, is all different, but you always want to keep some kind of compensation mixed into performance as much as you possibly can. And that, by the way, goes for the whole team. As much as you can, performance-based as much as you possibly can. There are some roles that are going to be more salary-based, but you guys get the point right now as we're looking at how this works. Now, what about one of the most obvious questions again? Where do you find agents? I mean, it's like, where do I find good talent? Where do I find, well, here's the thing. Number one, when you're looking at how this actually works, you know, from a growing perspective and a real world perspective, and I say this all the time, one of the things that really separates me is that I've done this. This isn't just me talking about what I read or me, I'm not like a coach or trainer, like I've done this on the highest levels. And one of the places you find people is if you follow the formula I just gave you, as you have that admin, you're creating leads and now you have a overflow, start to develop referral agents. And this is how you start to test them out. Take a 25% referral fee, start giving them some of the overflow leads, make sure you like their process, they're doing a great job, you like working with them. Before you ever contact them about possibly working with you, first, you're going to just kind of do a test drive. And you might not even tell them that, but that's what you're doing. So test drive them in that way in the beginning. Now, also, as you're doing your transactions, who do you like working with? Who have you worked with and been like, it's a pleasure every time I do. It's a joy because chances are other people like working with them too, and that's somebody that you want on your team. Who's new in the business? New people with the right personalities are great people to have on your team because you can mold them and you can teach them the right way. And they're not hung up on the way things have been done 20 years ago. They're all about 2016, so you have an opportunity with them. Who's new in the business? Who's recently got their license? And then last but not least, just keep your eyes open. People working at coffee shops are usually amazing in this industry. It's just because they're used to serving people. They've got outgoing personalities. I don't know why, but nurses are amazing in this industry. Like, you know that what I just said, if you don't know this industry, sounds weird, but you can probably think of like 10 nurses right now that are in the industry making a lot of money. It's just the way it is. Keep your eyes open, okay? Guys, we may do another video that goes over some more details as far as with teams and such, but until then, guys, leave a comment, subscribe, hit like. If you're interested in our coaching, just click right over here, subscribe, have a consult. I'll actually do the consult with you. Go to connectwithjared.com. Make sure you're following me on the social platforms, especially Snapchat. And guys, I can't wait to hear the things you guys have to say. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Hey there, you, and I am talking to you in particular, person that made it to the end of my video. It means the world to me. But if you made it to the end, I'm hoping that you'll take a second and subscribe right here. Make sure you share that with all your friends, by the way. They're in real estate, sales, entrepreneurial, whatever it happens to be. By the way, if you're looking for a speaker for your upcoming event, click right here to get some more information. And as usual, if you have a question you want me to personally respond, just connect on social. You can click right over here and see all the platforms I'm on. I hope to hear from you soon. Have a great one.